There is a quiet strength in those who move through the world with dignity, a power that does not shout but whispers. Some leave your life thinking they have dimmed your light, yet they do not see that your brilliance is not theirs to take. Today, we will speak of ways to let your presence, even in absence, be a mirror that reflects your worth back to the world. These are not tactics of revenge, but of grace. They are the silent gestures, the steadfast growth, the unshakable joy that make others pause and wonder, not in bitterness, but in recognition of what they have lost. You see, true power is quiet. True influence is unseen, yet deeply felt. And when you walk this path, those who have let you go will come to know some things, once gone, cannot be forgotten. When someone walks away from your life, the first instinct of the wounded heart is often to speak, to explain, to argue, to prove your worth in a storm of words. But there is a deeper kind of strength that lives beyond the noise. It is the quiet dignity of stepping back and allowing your absence to carry the message your voice no longer needs to deliver. Silence, when held with grace, becomes a language all its own. It tells the world that your value was never meant to be debated or defended. It tells those who lost you that what you gave, your presence, your kindness, your understanding, was a gift, not a guarantee. When you choose quiet dignity instead of loud protest, you reclaim your power. You refuse to beg for recognition from those who could not see you clearly when you stood before them. Instead, you allow space to do its work, and space has a remarkable way of revealing truths that words cannot force. In that space, people begin to notice the empty chair where your support once sat, the quiet where your laughter once lived, the absence of the steady soul who once believed in them. What once felt ordinary becomes unforgettable when it is gone. There is something profoundly powerful about a person who walks away without bitterness, not because they feel nothing, but because they know their spirit is too valuable to be spent in arguments that lead nowhere. Quiet dignity is not weakness. It is mastery over one's own heart. It is the understanding that your worth is not measured by how loudly you defend yourself, but by how peacefully you carry yourself forward. And in time, that silence begins to echo, not in your ears, but in theirs. They remember the patience you offered, the loyalty you carried, the warmth you brought into their lives. They begin to realize that what they once held so casually was something rare. Your absence becomes a teacher, gently reminding them of the value they overlooked. So let your absence speak. Let it tell the story of a person who knows their worth and refuses to shrink it for anyone's comfort. Walk forward with grace, with your head high and your heart unburdened. Because sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is not a speech, not an argument, not even a goodbye. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer is your silence. When the world grows quiet around you and the familiar voices fade, many people mistake that silence for loneliness. But solitude, when embraced with courage, becomes a sacred ground where the soul begins to grow. It is in those quiet moments, away from the noise, away from the expectations of others, that you rediscover who you truly are. When someone walks away from your life, it may feel like a door has closed, yet sometimes that very door was blocking the path to your becoming. To flourish in solitude is to choose growth over grief. Instead of spending your days wondering why someone could not see your worth, you begin to nurture the gifts that were waiting patiently within you all along. You read more, learn more, dream more boldly, and walk with a deeper awareness of your own value. In that quiet space, you begin to pour your energy back into your own life, into your goals, your peace, your healing. And slowly, the person you are becoming starts to shine brighter than the pain you once carried. There is a quiet transformation that happens when a person decides to invest in themselves. Your confidence grows, your mind becomes stronger, and your spirit becomes unshakable. You are no longer chasing validation from those who overlooked you. Instead, you are building a life so rich with purpose that validation becomes unnecessary. Your progress begins to speak for you. Your growth becomes visible in the way you carry yourself, in the calmness of your voice, and in the strength of your presence. And one day, those who once walked away may look back and see a version of you they never expected. Not broken, not bitter, but thriving. They will see a person who turned solitude into strength and silence into transformation. They will realize that losing you did not diminish you, it revealed you. Because when you flourish in solitude, you are not simply moving on, you are rising. When the noise of disappointment fades and the crowd that once surrounded you grows distant, you are left with something many people fear: solitude. But solitude is not a punishment, it is a sacred invitation. It is the quiet space where a person begins to hear their own truth again. When someone leaves your life, it can feel as if a piece of your story has been taken with them. Yet in that stillness, you discover something powerful. The pen was always in your hands. To flourish in solitude is to make a bold decision, to turn your attention away from what was lost and toward what can be built. Instead of asking why someone failed to see your value, you begin nurturing the parts of yourself that were waiting patiently to grow. You invest in your mind, your dreams, your purpose. You read the books that expand your thinking. You chase the goals that once frightened you, and you give your time to the life you were always meant to create. Growth that happens in solitude carries a special kind of strength. It is not performed for applause, nor shaped by the expectations of others. It is honest, patient, and deeply rooted. Day by day, you become stronger in ways that cannot be easily shaken. Your confidence no longer depends on who stays or who leaves. It comes from the quiet knowledge that you are building something meaningful within yourself. And the remarkable thing about true growth is that it does not need to announce itself. It reveals itself naturally in the calmness of your spirit, in the clarity of your goals, and in the steady way you walk through the world. People begin to notice that something about you has changed. There is a new light in your presence, a quiet certainty that was not there before. One day, those who once stepped away may look at you and realize that your silence was not emptiness. It was transformation. While they thought you were standing still, you were becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more radiant than before. Because when you choose to flourish in solitude, you are not simply healing from the past. You are growing into a future that no one can take away. There is a moment when loss first touches the heart, when anger feels like the easiest language to speak. Words rise quickly, sharp and restless, demanding to be heard. Yet the wisest souls understand that anger, though loud, rarely carries lasting power. True strength is revealed not in the volume of your response, but in the grace with which you choose to carry your pain. Grace is the quiet decision to stand tall when your heart has every reason to fall apart. When you respond to loss with calm instead of confrontation, you take control of your story. You refuse to allow bitterness to shape the person you are becoming. Instead of chasing someone with accusations or explanations, you step back with dignity and let your character speak where your voice does not. In that stillness, people begin to notice something remarkable. You did not crumble, you did not become cruel, you simply chose peace. Grace has a way of lingering in people's memories long after anger fades. Anyone can raise their voice in hurt, but very few can walk away with their spirit intact and their kindness unbroken. When you meet disappointment with calmness, you leave behind a powerful impression. It tells the world that your heart is strong enough to endure pain without becoming pain for others. And time has a curious way of revealing the beauty of such restraint. Those who expected rage may instead remember your composure. Those who thought you would beg for understanding may recall how quietly you respected yourself. Your grace becomes a mirror, reflecting back to them the dignity they may not have shown. So let grace guide your steps when anger knocks at the door of your heart. Not because the pain is small, but because your spirit is too great to be ruled by it. In the end, calm dignity speaks a language that echoes far longer than any argument ever could. And sometimes, the most unforgettable response to loss is simply the quiet strength of a person who chose grace. There is a quiet wisdom in a person who does not feel the need to fill every silence with words. In a world where everyone is eager to speak, to prove, to be heard above the noise, the one who listens carries a different kind of power. Listening is not weakness, nor is it passivity. It is presence. It is the calm confidence of someone who understands that not every thought needs to be spoken to be felt, and not every moment needs to be claimed by their voice. When you begin to speak less, something remarkable happens. Your words begin to matter more. People lean in when you talk because they know you do not waste language on emptiness. Your voice becomes thoughtful, measured, and intentional. Each sentence carries weight because it is born from observation and understanding rather than impulse. And in that quiet awareness, you begin to see people more clearly than they expect. Listening gives you a deeper view of the world and the hearts within it. You notice the pauses between words, the emotions behind the smiles, the truths people reveal without even realizing it. While others rush to speak, you gather wisdom. While others compete to be heard, you cultivate understanding. And over time, this quiet attentiveness shapes a presence that people naturally respect. There is also a certain mystery in someone who does not reveal everything at once. When you speak only when your words carry meaning, people begin to value your perspective. They wait for it. They remember it. Your silence no longer feels empty. It feels powerful. It becomes the space where your thoughts grow strong before they are shared with the world. And sometimes, those who once overlooked you will realize that your quiet presence held more depth than they ever noticed. They may remember conversations where your simple words carried unexpected wisdom, or moments when your listening made them feel truly understood. In that realization, they begin to see that what you offered was rare. Because in a noisy world, the person who listens deeply and speaks with intention becomes unforgettable. Their voice is not loud, but it is lasting. And their silence, far from being absence, becomes a powerful form of presence. There is a quiet rhythm to life that many of us only understand after something or someone is gone. Time moves forward without asking our permission, carrying with it memories of voices, laughter, and moments that once felt ordinary. When a genuine connection leaves someone's life, it is not always the dramatic moments they remember most. Often, it is the small, steady presence you offered, the way you listened, the way you cared, the simple comfort of knowing you were there. Time has a gentle but powerful way of revealing the value of those everyday presences. In the beginning, people may not notice the space that has been created. Life continues, routines remain, and distractions fill the hours. But slowly, quietly, the absence begins to speak. They notice the conversations that no longer happen, the encouragement that once arrived at the perfect moment, the warmth that made ordinary days feel lighter. What once seemed familiar becomes rare when it is no longer there. Being missed is not something you can force or demand. It grows naturally from the sincerity you brought into someone's life. When your care was genuine, when your presence carried kindness and honesty, time will eventually uncover that truth. The heart has a remarkable memory for those who showed up with real love and real loyalty. And so, instead of chasing recognition or trying to remind people of your worth, you allow time to do its quiet work. You continue walking forward, building your life, nurturing your peace. Because the truth is simple: when someone has experienced the comfort of a sincere presence, its absence leaves an echo. One day, in a quiet moment, they may remember you, not with regret alone, but with the deep realization that what you gave was something meaningful. And that realization often arrives softly, carried on the slow and patient wings of time. There is something powerful about a life that is not constantly explained. In a world where people feel the need to justify every decision, announce every step, and prove every emotion, the person who simply lives, fully and quietly, creates a different kind of presence. Mystery is not about hiding who you are. It is about understanding that your life does not require constant permission or explanation from others. When you stop trying to make everyone understand you, you free your spirit to simply become. Often, when someone loses you, they expect to still have access to your story. They expect to know where you are, what you are doing, and how you are feeling. But when you step forward and live your life without constantly revealing every detail, something changes. A quiet curiosity begins to grow. They begin to wonder how you are doing, what new paths you have taken, and who you have become without them there to witness it. Mystery has a gentle way of awakening reflection. When people cannot easily see your journey, they begin to think about the role they once had in it. They remember your presence, your energy, the way your life once intertwined with theirs. And in that wondering, they begin to realize that your story continues to unfold beautifully and boldly, even without their participation. But this mystery is not created to make others feel small. It is created because you are finally living for yourself. Your days become filled with growth, learning, laughter, and new experiences that do not need to be announced to the world. You are no longer performing your life for an audience, you are simply living it. And that quiet fullness becomes magnetic. People notice the calm confidence of someone who is not trying to be seen, yet somehow shines anyway. Your peace, your purpose, and your quiet independence begin to speak louder than any explanation ever could. Because when you live a life that is rich, authentic, and unapologetically your own, you create something unforgettable. You become a story people think about long after they have left the page. And sometimes, the greatest impact you can leave behind is the quiet wonder in someone's mind as they realize that the life they walked away from kept growing, stronger, brighter, and beautifully beyond their reach. There is a quiet beauty in success that does not need to be announced. In a world where people often feel the urge to prove their worth through constant display, true achievement carries itself differently. It moves with humility, with calm confidence, with the steady rhythm of a life that is being built rather than broadcast. When success whispers instead of shouts, it becomes far more powerful because it is real, rooted, and undeniable. When someone walks away from your life, the temptation is often to show them what they lost, to prove that they made a mistake. But the wisest path is not to chase their attention. It is to focus on your own becoming. Pour your energy into your growth, your goals, your dreams that once waited quietly inside you. Work on yourself with patience and dedication, not for applause, but for the deep satisfaction of knowing you are honoring your potential. And slowly, without drama or announcement, your life begins to change. Your confidence grows stronger, your path becomes clearer, and your achievements begin to take shape. You learn new skills, build meaningful things, and step into opportunities that once seemed distant. You are no longer trying to convince anyone of your value. You are simply living it. The remarkable thing about true success is that it speaks on its own. People begin to notice the transformation in the way you carry yourself, the calm certainty in your voice, the quiet pride in your accomplishments. There is no need for loud declarations, because real growth is visible in your presence. And perhaps one day, those who once underestimated you may look from a distance and see how far you have come. They may remember the version of you they once knew and realize that while they were looking elsewhere, you were building something meaningful. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that your life was always meant to expand beyond that moment. Because when success whispers, it carries a deeper truth. It reminds the world that the strongest victories are not shouted from rooftops. They are lived every day in quiet dedication, steady growth, and the unshakable belief that your worth was never dependent on who chose to stay or leave. And in that quiet rise, your achievements become a gentle but undeniable reminder of the value that was always yours.